Welcome to the story. My mother-in-law secretly drugged my drink at a family dinner, but I didn't drink it. I gave it to her instead. A tense battle of wits between a daughter-in-law and a seemingly caring mother-in-law. When trust is betrayed and the truth is twisted, who will come out on top? Don't miss out. Subscribe to the channel and leave a comment to share your thoughts on this dramatic tale. Mother-in-law and the Secret War. My story begins at a simple family dinner, where everyone gathered in what seemed to be a peaceful atmosphere. But I, Julian Mercer, an independent photographer, could sense that something was wrong. At that moment, I thought this was just another ordinary dinner, but perhaps I was too naive. My mother-in-law, Diane, was a woman who always felt a little mysterious to me. Her gestures, her sarcastic words, and the lack of respect for my career were constant issues that prevented me from ever truly bonding with her. Her husband, Gerald, was a man who only cared about money and his career. I was never acknowledged in their eyes, and that wore me out. After a week of hard work in Montana, I returned home to attend my mother-in-law's birthday dinner. Although I was exhausted, I made sure to shower, dress neatly, and drive to their house. The dinner started as usual, with stories about Gerald's business deals, Diane's meticulous food arrangements, and an overall tense atmosphere, as if everything around me had nothing to do with my own life. After the main course, Diane announced that she had prepared a special sangria for dessert. When she poured the drink, I noticed something different. There was one empty glass and another with a strange film on the surface. She smiled and said that this was a special recipe for her favorite son-in-law. However, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I decided to switch glasses with Gerald, who always criticized my career. After drinking, I sat back and observed him, and just 45 minutes later, I saw him grow pale and start feeling unwell. Rushing to the bathroom, the loud sounds of his illness echoed through the house. I knew I had done the right thing. I hadn't drunk from that glass. Everything suddenly changed. Diane looked at me with a panicked expression. She knew I had figured it out. For just a second, I felt an eerie calm, an undercurrent of anger. Not a furious outburst, but the coldness of a plan carried out carefully. Although Diane and Gerald tried to justify their actions, I chose not to confront them immediately. I kept my composure and simply looked at her. A while later, I took the glass I hadn't touched and slipped it into my pocket as irrefutable evidence. For me, this couldn't go unanswered. 3 days later, I called Jason, an old client who ran a toxicology lab. I needed confirmation on whether the drink contained benzodiazepine, a drug that could knock someone unconscious for hours without being fatal. Jason called back and confirmed the information, and I knew that everything I had suspected was true. Over the next 2 weeks, I investigated Diane. I found prescriptions for Xanax from 3 different doctors, with dosages increasing 2 to 3 times over the years. I also heard stories around town about her, bizarre behavior at a neighbor's party, and even accusations of jewelry theft at the country club. One day, Haley, my wife, told me that her mother needed some photos for her social media. This time, I knew it was my chance to expose the truth. I agreed and went to their house alone, bringing my camera and a sealed envelope. I handed the envelope to Diane before we started taking photos. Inside was the toxicology report and printouts of her prescriptions. When Diane finished reading, her hands trembled. She didn't say a word, only whispered, "This is insane." I interrupted her and said, "What you don't know is, "You're not good enough for my daughter, and you will never have control over Haley or our lives again." Diane looked at me coldly. She had no response. After a moment of silence, I told her that she would have to face the truth. Haley would know everything she had done, not just to me, but also to her own daughter. And this would end her manipulation. Both Diane and Gerald denied everything, but I didn't let that shake me. I had enough evidence. And when Haley discovered the truth, she confronted her parents. Their resistance couldn't change the truth. She looked at me with understanding and love, and I knew I had done the right thing. After everything that had happened, I was no longer the silent observer. I had stood up and protected my family, bravely facing the truth and taking control of my own life. And in the end, I didn't need to do anything to take revenge. The greatest revenge was standing firm and building a happy life with the family I love. I continued to observe Diane and Gerald, two people I once thought would never change, especially Diane, who had always appeared subtle and gentle, but was in fact the most cunning person in the family. The more I interacted with her, the more I realized she was always trying to maintain control over everything, not just my life, but Haley's as well. After Haley and I walked out of that tense confrontation, I knew that everything had changed forever. We could never go back to those peaceful days when everything was just boring family dinners with the same old stories and Gerald's disdainful looks. But the important thing was we had finally stood up for each other. We had fought for one another. That was all that mattered. For the entire week that followed, Haley and I lived in an atmosphere of tension. She knew exactly what I had done, but she also knew that the truth is the truth. Whether she wanted to compromise or not, I knew that her family had made her doubt herself, made her question every decision in her life. Gerald's words, Diane's looks, had etched themselves deeply into her mind, making it impossible for her to see things clearly. One evening, as we were having dinner in silence, Haley suddenly said, "Julian, I need time to think about everything. I love you, but I also love my family. And I don't want to feel like I have to choose between you and them." Those words hit me hard. I understood, but I also knew that nothing was more important than our family. Nothing was more important than the values we had built together. And in that moment, I realized that true love must be about protection, not control. In the days that followed, Haley worked with therapists alongside Owen to try and heal the wounds caused by her family. It wasn't easy, but I knew the important thing was that we had faced it together. Despite the pain, we grew stronger. We stood firm beside each other. Diane and Gerald were no longer people who could manipulate our lives. They still tried to find ways to reach out, but this time, we had built solid walls to protect our small family. A year later, I opened my first photography gallery in downtown Asheville. Haley stood beside me, proud of the photos I had taken. Eliza, our daughter, was in Haley's arms, making all the struggles of the past seem small. At the grand opening, Diane and Gerald came. They didn't stay long, but this time, they no longer interfered in our lives. I saw that they looked weary, as though they knew everything was over. Once again, they couldn't change anything. They had lost, and we had won. That night, as we returned home, I said to Haley, "We did the right thing, my love. All we need is each other." Haley hugged me tightly and said, "I know, Julian. I know. We fought for our family, and now we can be proud of that." I looked at Eliza, sleeping in Haley's arms, and felt an immense happiness. This life is not about meeting anyone's expectations, not about pleasing others. This life is about us building together, overcoming challenges together, and sharing sweet moments. And so, our story, mine and Haley's with Eliza, continues as a story of victory, a story of perseverance, protection, and love. Despite all the challenges we've faced, we've ultimately found happiness in our own way, without needing the approval or acceptance of anyone else. I no longer look back at the past, because I know we have built a future of our own, a future full of hope, love, and happiness. Sometime later, when we had settled into our new life, I realized that the struggles we had faced were not just challenges related to family and career, but also a journey of self-discovery, a way for me to understand more about myself and what I truly wanted in life. I was no longer the man I once was. I no longer felt obsessed with the approval of others, nor was I afraid to face opposition or criticism. I had found a way to live according to my own values and beliefs. Haley had also changed a lot. She was no longer the girl who could be easily manipulated by her family, but a strong, confident woman who knew exactly what she wanted. Together, we had rebuilt our relationship, finding new ways to connect and understand each other better. Our conversations were no longer just about family issues or difficult decisions. We began to share our dreams and hopes for the future, planning trips, new projects, and things we wanted to achieve together. One of the most important things I learned was the power of forgiveness. Despite having faced the power games and control from Diane and Gerald's family, I didn't let negative feelings dominate my life. I forgave them, not because they deserved it, but because I wanted to keep my heart at peace. Forgiveness wasn't for them, but for myself. And through that process, I realized that forgiveness is one of the greatest strengths we can possess. I also no longer focused solely on my photography career as I did before. Although I still loved my work and was passionate about capturing beautiful moments of nature, I also realized that life wasn't just about work. I began participating in community projects, supporting wildlife conservation organizations, and working with friends who shared the same passion. The photos I took were no longer just works of art. They were messages about protecting the environment and wildlife. I wanted each photo of mine not only to be displayed on a wall, but to inspire others to act for a better world. Then, on a spring morning, as we sat in the garden behind our house, Haley holding Eliza in her arms, I realized that everything had truly changed. Eliza, our daughter, was the embodiment of a bright future and hope. She was a testament to a journey we had gone through, a journey that had involved so many challenges, pain, and disappointment. But in the end, it was a sweet victory. A victory not over the world, but a victory over ourselves. "What do you think about our future?" Haley asked, her eyes shining just as they always did when we dreamed together about tomorrow. I looked at her, feeling the happiness fill my heart. "Our future," I said, "is a place where we don't have to fight for recognition, where we don't have to live in the shadows of oppression. We will always be ourselves, and only then can we be happy." And that's how we lived. We no longer feared facing anything. Freedom and peace had returned to our lives. No more senseless battles, no more power games. All that remained was love, respect, and the determination to build a future that wasn't governed by the past. Haley and I, together with Eliza, began writing our story again. A new story, no longer interfered with by anyone. A story of freedom and happiness in our choices. And when I look back, I realize that everything we went through, the struggles, the challenges, helped us become the people we always wanted to be: strong, resilient, and loving. To me, that was a true victory. Not a victory in the battle with Diane and Gerald's family, but a victory in the battle with myself, with my fears and doubts. It was a victory of perseverance and sincerity. And I know with Haley and Eliza by my side, I will continue writing this story, a story of love, family, and the freedom we've found. On a beautiful summer day, as our whole family gathered in the garden, Eliza played under the shade of a tamarind tree, and I sat with Haley, feeling an extraordinary sense of peace. Our life, after all the upheavals, had truly changed. No longer were there concerns about control from the family, nor the pressure of unrealistic expectations. Everything now is ours and only ours. Haley looked at me, her eyes full of trust and love. "I remember the first day we met," she said gently, "when I thought you were just a photographer. But now I realize you're a strong man, always ready to protect our family. I'm proud of you, Julian." I smiled and took her hand, the warmth enveloping me. "I feel the same, Haley. We've been through so much to get to this point. I'm lucky to have you and Eliza by my side." Life was no longer long, stressful nights filled with endless confrontations. Instead, each passing day, we learned to love each other more, cherishing every moment together. We had built a small, happy family, a family unaffected by external pressures. Every step, every decision was our choice, not anyone else's. A month later, as summer approached, I received a special invitation from an international photography organization. They wanted me to join a large project focused on wildlife conservation and the environment. It was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. However, before agreeing, I asked Haley's opinion. She smiled and said, "You should go, Julian. Eliza and I will always support you. It's your passion, and I believe you'll do great." So, I decided to accept the invitation. Although I knew this would mean being apart for a while, I understood that it was an opportunity to continue pursuing my dreams, and I also knew that my family would always have my back, just as they always had. Throughout that long trip, I visited remote places, pristine forests, wild grasslands, and captured the most beautiful moments of nature. I didn't just photograph animals. I told stories about life, survival, and conservation, about the species we were on the brink of losing. My photographs were not just art. They were a call to protect this planet, so future generations could enjoy the wild beauty that we once had. Though we were apart, I always felt a strong connection with Haley and Eliza. Every time I sent them a photo or received a message from Haley, it felt as if I was never far from home. They were my greatest encouragement, the reason I could continue doing the work I loved. When I returned home after the long trip, I felt like a different person. Not just a photographer, but a man who had grown, who truly understood the value of family and love. I looked at Eliza, now a little girl running around, and I felt an immeasurable happiness. She was a part of me, a testament to everything I had fought for, and the reason I continued to live and love. One evening, as we sat down for dinner together, I looked at Haley, then at Eliza, and realized that I had found perfection in life. Not perfection in success or career, but perfection in love, in family, and in the choices we had made together. "I love you, Haley, and I love Eliza too," I said, my eyes full of emotion. Haley looked at me, her gentle smile lighting up her face. I love you too, Julian. We will build the future together, and we'll protect this family, not letting anything or anyone tear us apart. With those words, I knew that we had truly found our place in this world. We were no longer people forced into others' expectations. We were a family, and this family would always stand strong together, no matter the challenges. The world outside may have its difficulties and challenges, but we would never let that make us falter. We had won, not just in the battle with the family, but in the battle to hold on to our values and beliefs. And so, our story continues, not just about revenge, but about rebirth, perseverance, and love. It is the story of a family that has found true freedom and happiness, building a life we can be proud of, and a future full. Time passed, and each day became an opportunity for us to continue rebuilding our lives. No more pressure from family, no more interference in our decisions. Love, respect, and mutual understanding are all we need to keep moving forward. Although everything had changed, I still couldn't forget the lessons this struggle had taught us. We learned how to stand firm in any situation, how to protect what's important, and to accept that life doesn't always unfold the way we want. But most importantly, we learn how to love each other more completely. There are times when I look back at the past and wonder if there was a way we could have avoided all the pain. But then I realize that it was the hardships that helped us grow, that showed us the true value of family. We can't change the past, but we can choose how to face it and build a different future. Life taught me that sometimes challenges aren't a bad thing. We may not be able to avoid difficulties, but we can learn how to overcome them. And that is true strength, not avoiding pain, but facing it and continuing to move forward. Every morning when I wake up and see Eliza playing in the garden, I feel that everything I've done was worth it. She is the hope, the future that I fought to protect. And I know that no matter what challenges lie ahead, we will always overcome them together because we know how to love and protect each other. I've started to see things more calmly and realistically. Every decision, every step must be carefully considered. The months of fighting, the tense confrontations, all taught me that patience and determination will help us achieve great things. Haley and I began to think about bigger projects in life. We didn't just want to live in our own world. We wanted to contribute to the community. We began participating in charity work, helping poor children, and protecting animals and nature. We knew that every small action could create a big change. Eliza grows every day. I can't help but see myself in her first steps, in her bright smiles when she calls me Dad. Surely she will face challenges in life, but I believe that with the love and protection we have given her, Eliza will know how to stand strong, how to face whatever difficulties life brings. One day, when Eliza is old enough to go to school, Haley and I sat down together and looked back at what we had overcome. We knew life would never be easy, but we also realized that only when we stand together are we truly strong. Facing challenges, we did what no one thought possible. We held on to our love and our family. With every step, I realize more clearly that family is where we can find the invisible strength to overcome everything. It's not something far away, but the simple moments, the sincere love, the care we give each other every day. Everything around us may change, but family, the love of family, is what will last forever. Haley and I know that, no matter how many storms we face, we will never turn back. We have learned how to rise after falling, how to face difficulties, and how to live fully with ourselves. That is the true victory. The victory of love, of resilience, and of a family that has overcome everything together. And when I look at Eliza, I know that our journey is not over. It has only just begun. In the end, after all the challenges have passed, I realize that life is not a race to achieve perfection, but a journey to find true peace and happiness. With Haley by my side and Eliza in my arms, we no longer need to prove anything to anyone. We've won not by facing the world, but by holding on to our love and our values. My life now is a complete picture, not because it's free of struggles, but because we've overcome them together. Each moment with them is a great reward, a testament to everything we've sacrificed. I no longer seek approval from those who once turned their backs on me, nor do I care about the criticisms from those who don't understand the path I've chosen. The only thing that matters is my family, the ones I love, the ones who stand by me no matter how the world changes. And so, we move forward. Not because we are fearless, but because we've learned to love and protect each other. Our story has never been an ending, but a new beginning. A beginning where love and sincerity lead the way, and where each day is an opportunity to start anew, to live true to ourselves, and to build a future full of hope. We have won, not only in our battle with family, but in the inner battle within ourselves. And with each passing day, we come to understand that happiness is not a destination, but the journey itself. And our journey, whether long or short, will always be filled with joy, peace, and love.